I want to talk a little bit about basic off-grid preparedness and basic off-grid spirituality and philosophy and kind of bring the two concepts together. There's, of course, people that are living in the city. I guess this is more of a state of mind. Okay, you can have a different experience than I. You can be in the city, you can be in the suburbs, and you can be in an off-grid state of mind. And you don't have to live in fear. But you want to be honest with whether or not you're in an area that's going to be safe or not, whether or not the people around you already are safe or not. You got to be honest with yourself about that and how people are going to act when there's no resources. Are they going to actually be growing food on their rooftops or in their backyard? Are they actually prepared for this? The more you see people get caught up in all this emotionalism over the election and other illusions of separation issues, it's not a good sign. So I think the time to take such matters seriously has already passed. I'd like to see somebody else of financial means other than myself try to show what a intentional community actually looks like with people of different backgrounds and beliefs, living alongside and working alongside one another, outside of the current economic situation. Show what it looks like, and show what it looks like without it being a religious cult or a spiritual cult or a cult where people are like following the cool chick and the cool dude, the couple, right, or the organizers and their posse. No, none of that. That only works for some humans. So my philosophy is that it'd be good for people to start demonstrating this and not just be in a state of, well, I want to see it all kind of on a platter. I think one of the most important components of going off grid is the ability to step back. And for me, it's really a spiritual thing. It's really something to be grateful for, because you look at all these people that are in prison today that work for $1 a day, that are the furthest thing from an off-grid lifestyle. We may think our lives are rough here in the United States. You think about actual slaves in China and other parts of Asia, or the lives of those that are living in the Middle East that have incarnated into Afghanistan in this particular day and age. Of course, you're going to have some Afghans that, live outside the city in their own right, off the grid. That's right. They've actually done studies on Afghans that were not so familiar with September 11th or Osama bin Laden. They're like, what? We've been over here. Kabul's over there. And that's something that Americans forget about Afghanistan as well. You have all these rebels and nomads that travel throughout Afghanistan, and even during the Taliban's rule, that's why they lived outside of the capital. Because no one is able to control the entirety of Afghanistan. So you have a nomadic culture. So, we can look at that as a microcosm for a macro. They can't control the entire United States. They can't control all the people's minds that are in the United States. They cannot thus control all the counties within the United States. So there's going to be some places where, in a way, it's a promised land. Now, it's really, you've heard this expression, one man's trash is another man's treasure. One man's treasure is another man's trash. I found that there are people that are from some of these areas that they're not even close to realizing what they have. I saw this in Costilla County as well. And just being out in these magical places, no, people don't become enlightened and I'm not claiming to be enlightened in quote, but people don't necessarily have a spiritual experience just living in a particular geographic area. But the praying for such an escape from an urban environment or an environment steeped in poverty and fear of things happening, or unrest, police issues, other people, depression, the issues, just good things that go along with living in a city, heartbreak, unresolved issues from the past that continue to be a wound because of what's going on in the city, which is separate from your childhood entirely. It's its own trauma. For those two to mish and mingle, it's not a very good party on the dance floor. In fact, I advocate a little bit of stepping back then from that energetic connect, from anything that's going to maximize pain and prevent self-healing. Self-healing and going in an independent path and having all that you need. You know, you may not have all your wants, but you have everything that you need. You know, those are powerful things. I look out right now and I see gray skies. You know, I've got candles for power. You know, I've got a propane. I'm not even set with a wood stove yet. I have a propane heater, and I am happy with all of this. You know, but what are you doing? Just sitting in the dark? Well, right now I'm doing a podcast. Later on, I may make some food. Perhaps I'll listen to some recent Buddhist meditation chanting music. I'll try not to, be in desire. Oh, I wish I bought more sage and incense. And try not to think too much and desire about all the things that can make my, oh, if I had a battery backup deal, well, when the money's there in the next day or so that I transferred over to my PayPal, I may buy the battery pack that I'm looking at then. But I don't need to be lost in thought and desire. Oh, how much more can I have? Now, there's a series of goals to get to a certain place by winter. And, I don't have all the food that I need to get through the winter. I don't. But hopefully before the first snowfall, I will. Or a snowfall that sticks. So we're looking at the next few weeks. But other than that, and the practical things of getting prepared, as far as luxuries and things like that, all that's been on the low end. It's been about basic survival, and then getting to a point where, okay, now that I've reached this point, and I'm preparing to cap my own pyramid at the top. Ooh, Alex is using weird symbolic language. Starting to sound like Manly P. Hall. I haven't heard that yet, but Mason, I'm not. A unique person, I am. Something that, I'll kind of just prefer to keep outside the box. We'll leave it outside the box for now. We won't even the term modern Gnostic is a label. That whole thing with Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune Do, not labeling something, even though he labeled it, but it's not really about labeling something, but figuring out what works for you. And that's kind of how I view a lot of things and topics. And, find the information that you find relevant or that is factual regarding that topic or that activity or that lifestyle or that way of looking at something. A little bit of spirituality or spiritual wisdom. And there's a lot of that to absorb from this day and age. And part of it is not being a part of the problem and seeking to be the contrast. So if you see a hive mind developing, dense population centers, technology replacing our connection to nature and each other, contrast to that is, in our day and age, what we call off the grid and what's left of it. And to feel that you're living off the grid in a day and age to where it's becoming extinct makes it that much more valuable. It's like, wow. There's a lot of people out there that own land that have actually gone to stay on their land, whether it's off grid or just rural, like certain, cabin retreats that are outfitted with power. But actually getting away from their jobs, getting away from their addictions in the city in these dense population centers, getting away from some of these lifestyles and stepping back, unplugging. And there's a lot to it. And you can unplug and have access to the internet. And you can unplug from the internet, but still be plugged into some sort of a Babylonian consciousness and a bunch of drama and not actually heal. Somebody can go out there without technology and then go out with a bottle of Jack Daniels and then cause some real hell. Trust me on that one. No, I'm not speaking from experience. I'm speaking from the observation of American society. Just take a look at the meth epidemic, for crying out loud, in some of these off-grid areas. Yeah, they may be off-grid. They may not be on the internet, looking at all this negative news. Yeah, they could be, jacked up for weeks on end, working on a friggin' go-kart. Off-grid doom buggy, whatever, friggin' cracked meth vehicle. In the friggin' garage, all night long. So people are going to have a different response to nature. And I would even say that spirituality, there's positive and negative spirits. So nature is spiritual, and there are both what we would interpret to be positive and negative spirits in nature, parts of nature. And some of the spirits are in pain from things that man has done to some of those forests. That's what I picked up on much more strongly in Oregon, and in particular the city of Portland, which is an ancient forest. So there's all types of wreckage and pain and rape energy directed towards nature that man and woman, males and females, have collectively. And in a short period of time, for example, I talk about the whole Portland story. And that was literally like where this started. I came out of the womb in Portland, Oregon. And it was in Portland, Oregon that I came to a lot of my ideas. Things weren't perfect for me in Portland, but there's a lot of very important lessons that I learned that have helped shape me in the person that I am, and I'm the person that I'm still becoming. One step leads to the next step. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So I hold that in my mind's eye. That's a catchphrase that I've been using since the first days of Outside the Box TV, next to reminding people that the path to the ultimate truth and power still lies within. So it was within that wounded, fallen goddess city epicenter of the Western Hemisphere, known as Portland, Oregon, that I came to a lot of my early awakenings, but not just political, but also spiritual, and feeling like I had access to various aspects of knowledge, information, light, teachings, just things that just were igniting within me. From Portland, from the positive sense, a flame within me tapped into that aspect of nature when it was a positive, much more positive experience. And sometimes it's through the pain that we can find the way home. And I wrote an article, a blog that you can find at alexansory.tv. Check out the new website, by the way, if you haven't already, and also become a monthly PayPal subscriber if you want to contribute financially. But going back to the main topic of all this, it's a positive spiritual experience to have such immense gratitude to the Creator and whatever angels helped make this happen, because it wasn't just one thing. And before I continue, you may have some of these same experiences where it's a spiritual experience because you recognize intervention, or you've seen your prayers answered. And I will say that, we have to maintain, and none of us are perfect. I'm not claiming to be perfect or super enlightened, but on the path and kind of being aware of this process and how this is working. And some things that you spend years focusing on, trying to manifest, they may come, but, it may come with a little bit of challenge, a little bit of weight, and it may seem like one thing is the right thing. Like for me, it was Costilla County, then it took a while to find another county, and in a day and age where you see a lot of sabotage in off-grid communities. There's a reason why I'm not saying, hey, everybody come on over. It's going to be a big party at my place. I've had to spend every dollar, every dime to get this going. And there were, again, I think, spiritually speaking, there was a reason why it wasn't meant to happen in Costilla County, and there's a reason why after a period of waiting, I connected with the right realtor who helped get the deal going with the actual owner, the paperwork, including the lawyers, including the title company, including all of that. And yeah, she makes a commission, but I don't think her commission was, all that large from this particular deal. I think this was partially, at the very least, helping someone. And I'd like to think that I'm, a much better option to the neighborhood than, say, another meth house. And there aren't a lot up here, but there's a lot of concern about that. And I like to see certain off-grid areas that have been harmed in the past by the meth epidemic, that negative influence can be neutralized by more people that want to live the off-grid way of life, that will outnumber some of the rogue criminal elements that often from time to time may find themselves off grid. Now, that's a partial reality, but it's also a great stereotype. And I have to walk in the light without fear of someone, profiling me as Arabic or Persian. Because when I'm in town at the thrift store, even the way the woman said, she said to me recently, you got to be real careful with this ornament that I bought for my window in my shed that looks pretty. You don't want to be starting any fires out in the wilderness with one of these. People do that. Getting to a point where it's like, I'm aware of this. I may be annoyed by it. I may be offended by it. And I may be hurt by it. Somebody looking and going, is he looking at me or is she looking at me? Because I haven't shaved today and my curls are coming out. And I've got that Syrian refugee look today. Answer, he's got the refugee look. And of course, if I shave perfectly and have my hair cut and have a press shirt, I just look like some standard white guy. Or some people, I look like that Arab trying to be white. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that comment on my YouTube channel. People are just crazy. And so when I go to town and I go to the thrift store or I go to the market, there's a number of different ways that I can be profiled. And including I'm the young guy driving an RV. I just went, we got a fucking nicest looking Persian driving an RV. That boy ain't from here. And then, of course, there's the way that some people are looked at in RV. We got another lower income new Colorado resident. They all moved here for the pot, Bill. That's what I read in the paper. That's right, in Denver Post. I said they all moved here for the pot. And it's like, oh my God, there are multi-levels. Put up a block. Maintain a grounding. Think something positive. I mean, like, okay, I'm going to go into the same thrift store. Okay, so eventually they're going to see me in the thrift store 4 or 5 times. And I've already bought the pants that I'm wearing. I've already bought, let me look around here. Oh yeah, I got this Chinese scroll with a dragon and a tiger. I got it for $3 at the thrift store. Let's see here. Oh, I got a nice little leather footrest. And that footrest is what I put my computer on that's currently recording. If I want to watch movies upstairs in the loft where I don't have a lot of headspace, I put the computer on a footrest. $3, that thrift store. So I'm not going to stop going to that thrift store. Just because that lady looked at me funny and said, yeah, you're not going to go start no fires, young man. And I'll tell you, man, when you're 36, moving to 37, it gets kind of tiring, people calling you young man. But, I'll try not to complain too much as the years progress and I hit my 40s. You look like such a nice young man. Oh, thank you, man. I'm actually 42. Oh, man. So we'll see how the bald spot in the back does. And we'll see what type of technology may come about. Bald spot prevention. But I'm going to have to stay away from the nanobots. Now with nanobots. Here to bring back the man's bald spot. Here to make those tits perkier than ever. It's Nanobot Tan Mix. You just spread it right here. Okay, so I'll just get back to the same topic. Now that things are getting weird with where we're going with technology. Reason to go off grid number 153. Smart grid, black goo, AI technology embedded in the human body. Programming the human body being a cybernetic mindset to be a receiver transmitter to the Archon mainframe system. And then you just hear all these people, man. All these people that are into all these things just like that are like coming to you from the biggest cities in America. But of course, sometimes it takes living in a major city like San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, New York, Florida, Los Angeles to really get the depth of the social engineering that's taking place. And do what you want to do. My perspective is if you're not there in a state of helping, why are you really there? Unless maybe in a situation where, and I'm not trying to judge, but I'm concerned about whatever's really going on in these dense population centers. And I don't talk a lot about the chemtrail programming, but when you hear about people actually talk about stuff like that, and Morgellons, it's not like there are areas that are completely like devoid of it. This area is not devoid of it. It happens, but it doesn't happen as much. When you go out to Costilla County, they have upped it more in recent years. So whatever that programming is, they've expanded. But that's another reason to go off grid. And when someone's not worried about the solar flares and they're not worried about the chemtrails every day, and they could see clear blue skies, and their bare feet can be in the ground, and they don't have to worry about some needle being in that ground. They don't need to worry about some glass being in that ground unless they themselves or one of them damn drunk friends they had over left some glass and it broke. Then maybe they got to worry about some glass in the ground. But to have an area that's safe, and you clean it out and maybe rake it up and bring up that soil, and literally set up for yourself to walk on it with bare feet, like some Sufi walking over the fire. And I'm not really saying I'm doing either. But how about throw it all in? And it's all connecting with nature and the raw earth elements. And that's exactly what people seem to be taken away from. There's connecting with nature within the city, and I've done that, and that is a way where we can connect with nature wherever we are, and a lot of it is within. Nature itself is in a constant state of change. Nature isn't fixed. So nature can be influenced. Nature can go through a healing process, and nature can be contaminated. And there's physical contamination, and then there's energetic, vibrational contamination. Another reason I live off grid, love living off grid, number 534551-B2, is being able to step back from a consensus reality that it actually is there, but I may not be able to see it physically, but I can walk down that street and I can feel it. I can walk down that street and I can feel the lack, I can feel the anger, I can feel the resentment. I could feel that fracturing of consciousness, that male-female divide. I could feel that heartbreak, and not necessarily my own. But my own combined with it almost seems to create a fusion in of itself, a flame that I would not like to see engulf me any further. But in fact, a flame extinguished. Not a flame of the true light, but a flame of passion, a flame of anger, a flame of lust. Can I get an amen? Flames of desire, flames of aversion, flames of resentment, flames of emotion, and sometimes not our own, and sometimes very unknown with regards to its origin. In a world where we are not alone, in a world where the dead, screaming for another drink, screaming for another lay, screaming to be released, walks amongst us. They walk amongst us. And I'd say certainly during solar maximums, especially in cities like Portland, Oregon. Thank you very much. It's a very, very important insight to see the links between solar maximum, the paranormal, and cities where the dead still walk in search of another layer drink. It's real, man. It's more real than anything you'll ever imagine in a million years, in my book. So going out in other areas, and oh man, there is something watching me from this driveway. I can feel it, but it doesn't feel necessarily harmful. But I pick up on it. I pick up on it, and some actually wants to come take a look at me in my shed, but it doesn't walk in. And I can't see it, but I feel an energy presence just... So I understand I'm a study for something. And for who knows how many different spirits. Some with positive intention, and some without positive intention. Some not actually being able to review me in a physical spiritual sense, but using other forms of technology to gain what information that they can. And you see, for what I call this archonic agenda, a lot of it comes from technology, even though technology can be used to shine a lot of the light on a lot of important issues, even the archons themselves. So it's not that technology is evil. We talk about tools, and tools being used for positive or negative purposes. The hands being used to heal in some cases. In other cases, they can be lethal instruments. Obviously so. So technology, same thing. And so I'm using technology on the same medium that they use technology to try to imprint the mind of consciousness in a negative way, the hive mind. And I believe that I can impact and am impacting the hive mind in a positive way. And that's what I will continue to focus on. I may not be perfect. I may fall over my words. But I've got enough passion, and I've got enough to talk about. I've certainly got enough to talk about. It's like I actually put up a board. I'm like, I'm going to start writing down titles of YouTube videos that I'm going to upload, and I'm just going to go crazy. Video after video, podcast after podcast. Some podcast, some video. Just keep mixing it up. Perhaps some slideshows later on. You know, it's pouring rain outside. Soon I'm going to be buried in feet of snow. This winter, I've been looking forward to for perhaps a lifetime. May sound really out there, but I've really been working towards a winter like this for a lifetime. And so I'm going to reap the spiritual benefits. And I'm not going to be held back by all the doomsday news. I'm going to work to the best of my ability to do what I said I would do when I got to this point and be a voice of reason. Okay, I'm going to be a voice of reason in a world of madness to the best of my ability. That's the intention. The road to hell was paved with good intentions. Yeah, that's something that people with bad intentions say. Talk some shit about those that are trying to hold the gnosis, trying to hold the light alive, keep the dream alive. Haters. Haters throughout the millennia. Haters throughout the thousands of years. Oh, now trolls have YouTube. Boy, oh boy, everything's gotten real funny. So for me, off-grid and spirituality, I got to maintain some balance. Most people don't think go off-grid and talk about things going on in the world. You just don't do that. When you go off-grid, boy, to tell me the other off-gridders that are nothing like me, even though I'm so pro off-gridder, you go off-grid, boy, you go off-grid. You work hard. You don't get out down satellite internet. YouTube, YouTube, they're gonna come get you. Fear. Muslim invasion. Donald Trump. Or whatever the fuck. Anarchy, man. Bernie Sanders. Just don't do nothing, man. Just go hide. Get yourself a nice, become yourself a little, yeah. It's all about you. Gimme. I mean, come on, man. What is this? Some sort of a fucking t-shirt meme? Gimme. Get the hell out of here. Seriously, get the hell out of here, because I didn't make it to this point by having that kind of an attitude. Seriously, I'd still be in a gutter in Portland. You think that people would be helping me throughout all these years just for fun because they have, a few hundred here and there? But then I've walked into situations where I've got my tires fixed in a bad situation. No one else was there. Or I walk into a situation where I'm hired the same day that I hear this little voice inside saying, go down to this place and file an application for a job, which I did this summer on July 3rd. And I went to work right away, and I'm working literally like almost full-time to part-time for several months, and it pays for the video production studio that I'm in right now. Not all of it, but most of it. I can see through the hard work that I've done over the years, even if I've been mocked and laughed at, it's all ended up in a positive. And I physically am still alive. People can scoff and go, I can't believe you're still alive. People that talk shit back in 2006, they're going to come get you. My own grandmother. Bush is going to get, Alex, you shouldn't say that about Bush. He'll come get you. He'll come get you, Grandma. Soul rest in peace. Passed several years ago. But I saw that as an example of the fear. The fear. Yeah, the fear. Oh, boy. Oh, the fear and the CNN connection. I mean, folks, it's not just the Clinton News Network. It's CNN. It's its own entity. You don't have to diminish the power of propaganda that CNN has had by bringing it down to the Clinton News Network. It's so far greater than that. Oh, God. All those covering for the New World Order in our day and age. You want to make it all about the demon, blonde woman, blue-eyed woman, yeah, and the black man, the black Muslim while you're at it. Yeah, Donald Trump, meanwhile, flies out of the water like a dove. It's Jesus. So, I mean, yeah, reason to go off grid number 1535-2B389 _C THX 1138. You know what I'm saying? Because you know what I'm saying. You see this many people drinking a big bowl of Kool-Aid that's clearly labeled toxic. Both the candidates are owned by the same people, and they're drinking, and they're like trying to drink up more water for like the water they weren't drinking yesterday, the Kool-Aid, the poison, toxic bullshit. They're like, oh my God, I have to like overcome. They're thinking that they have to overcome any rational thinking whatsoever. So you got to get yourself inebriated all the way if you're going to get fucked and you're going to get your liquids flowing. I mean, you got to get fucked up. Okay, you're going to have a gangbang with some demons. You're going to get yourself fucked up. Once you throw in some heroin, once you throw in some meth, and I'm sorry, that's a microcosm for what we've got going on with these people. So they intoxicate with more of that propaganda. Oh yeah, turn on more of that Alex Jones while he humps a flat screen monitor and says, Hillary, I love you, you're a goddess. You know, watch more of this nonsense fucking freak show going on YouTube and the mainstream media and the alternative media acting like the mainstream media. It's like a mind virus bomb, just boom. I mean, those are the explosions we ought to be worried about, not ISIS, not Al-Qaeda, you know, but these psychic bombs going off, just boom, and they're not just limited to dense population centers. So they use the internet to set off these mind viruses and these mind bombs, these psychic bombs, just going boom, and then they just sit there and the spiritual parasitic ankle-biting minions siphon that energy of pain and suffering, whether it's generated in a major city or generated off a Facebook page or that entity is literally coming through the screen. They're here. You know what I'm saying? So going off grid and realizing that some of these forces, they don't have like all this power to go anywhere. They use certain tools like technology. So yeah, you know, it takes a certain amount of strength to go off grid, but still be connected with that internet-based information, but to also shut it off. I know I can ground my body. I know that I can own the space around me, the shed that I'm in, the very property. You know, let this property be protected. Let this property be grounded. Let this space be illuminated. Let myself go through a transformation. It's all happening right now on some level, as well as within you. And to have that experience, even if someone else that came from this same environment may have became a meth user. That's right. There was a guy that obviously had an issue with meth that was from this area that was working at the restaurant. There's certain people that there's something that is so the spirit within them is going through such unrest that even though they have access to all this nature, and I saw this with someone else growing up. Okay, like, why would you, given so much by your father, be using meth and cocaine? That actually makes no sense to me, unless you're one of those spoiled brats. Oh, yes, mommy didn't love you enough. Daddy didn't love you enough. Your car wasn't fast enough. Vroom, vroom, vroom. What a poor baby of the late 1970s, early 1980s. Oh, here, watch Miami Vice. Here's a A-Team episode. Oh, hey, it's time for Prozac. And it's just on and on and on. They really have had some... worked over the last few generations. It's not just my generation. They worked over our parents' generation. Oh, damn, they try to fuck them up. It's not really their fault. I mean, we have to look at the actual system that we're in. Whether they're aware of the system that they're in. The system played us off against each other. So, you know, reason to go off grid number 153, T-Wine -2, and a couple of Chinese characters here. Reconnecting with that inner knowing. So you get rid of all that nonsense. You may have the internet, but you turn off the internet, sit outside in the rain. Or maybe you're just like me, you know, put on a raincoat, walk outside in the rain, walk in a counterclockwise circle. You know, you're out in nature somewhere in the park. Even before I was living here in Portland, Oregon, I'd go to Laurelhurst Park, where I have a lot of childhood memories with my father and my mother and others. And some friends. Now I'd walk in a counterclockwise circle. I'd also do clockwise, but mostly counterclockwise. You know, it also came to me when I was walking counterclockwise that I was releasing and deprogramming, and when going clockwise, focusing on an intention or bring something into manifestation, you know, something like that. Bring into reality, release to reality. Bring into reality, release to reality. Yin, yang, and then, you know, circular motion, move to the left, move to the right. Double circle to the right, double circle to the left. Somebody posts this comment, you'd be more intimidating if you shaved your head. Well, only someone trying to rile me up would talk like that, because I'm not trying to be intimidating. I'm trying to explain, it's like I'm not... Oh, what was that comedy show in the 2000s? Anyway, it was one of those candid camera type of a programs in the UK. And the yoga instructor, meditation instructor would prank his listeners. So they'd be like, okay, in and out, in and out. And then outside, somebody would be starting up some saw or something, and he'd be like, I'll be right back. And, he'd go outside, would you please try to keep it down? I am a meditation teacher. I'm trying to relax. I'm trying to help. Anyway. But essentially, I feel that. I feel that character within. If somebody comes on my property last week and they're hooping and hollering and they're screaming the Archons have me, and maybe I talked to him a little bit about some of my understandings. Maybe he visited my YouTube channel. Maybe he's listening now. I better look at situations like that. Like, you just meet someone, you hang out with them a few times, and you tell them they're acting in a rude manner, and they're screaming, and they're going back and forth their motorcycle like there's some villain from a 1980s movie. Vroom, 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 the Archons have you. Ah! Like, whoa, wow. Talk about old witch man on the mountain. That's some scary shit. Guy saying the week before, you know what? If I wanted to, I could possess you. So it's like, folks, you can take the person out of Babylon. You cannot necessarily, take the black magic, take the Babylonian consciousness, take that anger, that rage out of the person when you put them in nature. It is an inside job. It is an inside job. So one of the things that I was thinking about in Costilla County in the year, which I'm going to be thinking about more, today, this week, going into this winter, when you separate yourself from a dense population center and daily contact with other people. It's a very spiritual thing because you take responsibility for your feelings. And you really tap into your feelings. And this is great. I have just enough space, barely. I barely have just enough space to speak my mind in my shed without anyone being able to really eavesdrop on what I'm saying. They may hear a little bit of whoa, 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 and go, wow, it's really some sort of a church thing going on with that weird dude that lives in that shed. And that's about it. But I'm able to really boom out my energy. And the first time in ever, you can't really boom out your energy like this in the RV. Try a TV studio in Portland, Oregon with people on the other side of the door going, there's Alex going off again, and me being able to pick up on that type of a judgment, or going live on Access TV and being prank called, or something to that effect. Or a situation where I was doing Outside the Box Radio, and again, hello to all of you that have commented that you've been with me since the Oracle days. Apparently it really means something to a lot of you, and it means something to me when you say that, because those were some really difficult days. I remember breaking down crying on the air when someone that had supported Obama was evicting me for speaking out against Obama. He can hear what I was saying on Oracle Broadcasting. He was horrified that he let an anti-Obama person in the house. It was 2008, 2009. I was persecuted for thinking outside the box, and here I am now, like all of this work paying off. But I'll tell you what, it's not about fearing God, it's about respecting God. And if you go around hurting other people and causing disturbances, the hand of protection can be removed. So like praying for protection, protect this land, protect myself. If I had people in my life, protect them, protect her, protect him. But I can't say protect my entire listenership. And this isn't exactly a church. But is this a spiritual sermon? Absolutely. And I realize that there are many people that are reason to go off grid number 3, 5, 8, 9. Just this constant persecute the Gnostic. Like, you think you can make a living? Talk about the boo-bro? Boy, dee boo dee da boo da doo da boo 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 boo. And it's like, it doesn't really matter the words. It's the vibration. It's the dibba 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 dibba. Dibba 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 dibba. It's like, get the fuck out of here. You're like diarrhea at the mouth. But they're not going to get the fuck out of there. There's more of them than you. Then what do? Then maybe you get the fuck out of there. And I look at myself in Portland. Maybe I'm the one that's got to go. And maybe in the end it's going to be for the best. We look at good luck, bad luck, the ancient Chinese parable, right? You look at that story, I'm sure, 10% of you have actually looked it up by now. and just congrats to the 10%. You are the 10. You have insight now into the good luck, bad luck. And so go forth now, my daughter, my son, with greater enhanced wisdom from the east. But that's what it is. It's waiting till a period of time passes, and then you look at it and go, was it positive or was it negative? Compared to what you thought at the moment. We go back to Costilla County. I know, as scary as it is with those cheesy vests on Cruz Soto and Colin Romero and run around the desert like they're protecting and serving something. Yeah, the Archons, with their spiritual warfare game, kicking people off their land. But, would that really be the best place? If, say, all that was not going on and I invested $5,000 in 5 acres and I've got to go to Alamosa for water, or if I go to San Luis for water, there's a risk of getting raped. I mean, I don't know if it's that way now, but, it could be. Imagine like a real drought scenario to where there really is water scarcity. Yeah, we'll see how things will end up in Costilla County. But my intentions prior to that was go to Costilla County, find some land as soon as possible, put some money down, and see, all that could have been a waste. Good luck, bad luck? It was good luck in the end for me to find this place. And things change. The only thing that's constant in this world is change. And of course, reason to go off grid number 939651234 is that an artist or a creative can go out in nature and get that inspiration, access that creativity, and take it back to the city. So, what I'm doing right now, I'm taking whatever inspiration and focus from this rural experience off the grid, and I'm taking it directly into the internet with these podcasts. I don't even need to use extra energy. Again, we have rain outside. I don't have enough power. I don't have enough batteries. I don't even need enough power to bring you video. I'll bring you a podcast surrounded by nothing but a propane heater and a few candles in a shed out in the middle of the woods using the satellite in an area where no cell phone signal will penetrate, at least most of the area. So there's something very powerful about it. Again, because we deal with this world where people talk about Agenda 21 and all that stuff becoming illegal, but very few of those people that are yelling about it being illegal are actually already out there. At the same time, the people that are already out there, people that are already off the grid, most of them might read a little bit of news here and there, either about alternative media topics or off-grid stuff, but very few of them are actually talking about anything at all. Other than here's my RV today, when we're not talking about Donald Trump. Oh God, all the off-gridders for Donald Trump. That's like trying to think of an analogy where being raped in the ass was some sort of cutting object, but I don't. This is a family show. Don't want to get too graphic. But yeah, we got our volt system set up here with our wiring, and we got, now we can go over here and look at our compost toilet, and we got a couple watts of solar, and the conversation never really gets beyond that. It's like, okay, you're off grid. Okay, what are you doing with all your off grid? Oh, you're watching Netflix. Oh, you're watching more porn. Oh, you got a whole bunch of video games. We got our kids bunch of video games. Call of Duty, get our kids prepared for World War III and sex with aliens and war with robots, and we're just trying to have a good old time. We try not to think too hard. We're living off the grid, yeah, but Babylon's still within you, my not so young Jedi. Babylon is still within you. And it's like, yeah, I realize there's a lot of Johnny-come-latelys that think they're waking up to some sort of conspiracy that are humping the Trump. And I'll tell you, it's like, have you ever mixed ketchup with chocolate? Because until you've actually tried to do that or mix that, it's a difficult thing to do. Or I remember when I was a kid, my mom thought I was weird, but I was just curious what would happen. Took a little bit of a jar, put some ketchup and some mustard and some vinegar, and I just thought I would just like marinate it and see what type of a chemical cocktail would actually. And it's not that I was trying to create an explosive device, but I just remember after a few weeks, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? And I don't know what the fuck I was doing, but eventually this several week to several month mold infestation project came to an end. What was really going on subconsciously in the root of Alex Ansary, the young child, we may never know, but the higher angelic scientific forces of good observing that overall situation probably understand the root causes of such a childish scientific experiment. I've also had other thoughts regarding scientific experiments. As a child, I remember it was the 8th grade, and some sort of a science fair, and going after something that I had heard other people talk about, and it was before Emoto. So I was aware of this before the Japanese guy and the hidden messages in water. But a lot of this, I think, probably follows The Secret Life of Plants, the famous book that came by the late author that was released in the late 70s. So people in the 70s and 80s were already hip to this idea of plants responding to beautiful classical music and the concept of heavy metal and all that, and all that, its effect on the human body. And on the topic of heavy metal, I also find myself in my off time when I have extra data to watch YouTube, I'll do a lot of social analysis of the heavy metal scene of the 1980s. And as much as I and you may like some of the chords, studying the decadency, the lives behind the scenes of Dave Mustaine and some of the other out of control individuals, and how they talk about getting inspiration from the devil or other spirits and some of their stuff, or opening up the gateways to those spirits through their inebriation, extreme abuse of heroin, cocaine, meth, crack, other things that alcohol / Guns N' Roses, constantly walking around like the drunk with his face down, like Cousin It from the Addams Family, just that drunken, walking zombie thing. Oh, but it's sexy in it. Here's a rock and roller. There's so many different variants of that, but it really is about controlling people. And these major cities, rock and roll lifestyle, going from person to person, living like a rock star, party, 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 all this electricity, metal, electricity and power, grid, heavy metal is about the grid. It's about plugging into the grid. And so, I'm not demonizing heavy metal. I'm talking about, like, a lot of these people are high off this electric experience. Yeah, baby, they're high off it. This electric experience, I remember living in my teardrop camper in Portland, Oregon, and parking near Forest Park. I felt something spiritually going on a multidimensional level outside of Forest Park in Portland, Oregon. And it was just this screaming Native American energy that was trapped in the electric grid. They were like ultimate warrior type spirits of the native ultimate warrior. Just right there in that in that grid, the Transformers, alive, trapped, set us free. And I think there's some going on there. These major electric centers and grids, and I talk about the solar flares and the unnatural electromagnetic frequencies of cell phone towers, smart meters, smart grid, radio waves, towers, you name it. Those become portals for other energies and other influences that are dependent on technology to control human beings. And it's a whole separate podcast, but perhaps I should conclude it here. But you know what the solution is. It's escaping the bullshit lie inside you that you can't do it, because the Archon agenda is to keep humans in dense population centers. Easier to control, easier to keep them dependent on other things. Easier to implant their dreams, easier to interconnect with a physical human being, even if she is spiritually developed. Hell, that may just make them more of a target, as more as these demons seem to become unleashed, almost just rising out of Ghostbusters. And you take a lesson from Ghostbusters. And that naked woman in the bubble bath, soap comes down, her name's Zool or something like that. That Archon type of spirit, Archon, Derrit, demon, spiritual parasite in Ghostbusters, masquerading as the naked chick in the bubbly soap, scans their mind and creates something that they're fearing, using telepathy to access their mind and create the very thing that they're fearing. And sometimes our minds can be accessed, and those infected by Archons will insult us in areas that are going to light us up. You'll notice that some of the haters, the very few, and the one with multiple accounts, will constantly use information that is gleaned from YouTube videos, create a fake account, create an insult around that area where it's believed that a button will be activated, all from available information. So there's using available information, and then there's, on the Archon side, using telepathy and knowing what really makes someone tick, and then projecting that at the targeted person through the human hosts, unaware of their Archon infestation. Boom! Inner city life. Yeah, baby. Enter the Matrix. Enter Agent Smith. So I'm going to tell you, when you know that their goal is to work against humans becoming free, and their goal is to hijack the mind of humans, to insult the other humans that have escaped their slavery. Some of you can take a bow. That's right. I just straight up called you Agent Smith. And you an aspect of that consciousness. That's right. My #1 hater with multiple accounts. Here's looking at you, kid. And all they're doing is hurting themselves. And as they continue to listen to this channel for their own healing, even if they're throwing Play-Doh at the monitor while throwing hateful comments, they continue to listen. Because they know there's something here that their soul needs to hear. Because their soul needs healing. There's a lot of reasons why I keep a distance from a lot of my students. My students. Those that are here to learn these ancient truths that are speaking through me. You know, there's a reason why they may be root students, but they make sure they listen to the very end of the video. And they know that I know why they're doing that. So we've really become that Dr. Jekyll, Dr. Hyde, smiley face, you know, frown face society. YouTube is the best example of it. The haters that love and the love that haters. The people that don't know the difference between actually being a friend and just being someone on the internet observing someone's information from a great distance. I mean, there is a difference. And you need to be reminded that there's like the real world, the natural world, real relationships, there's real sexuality, there's real food, there's real air, there's real light, okay? There's real natural organic seeds. You know, there's a real kiss, not kissing a robot. There's really talking to someone, not texting back and forth on Facebook. And it's about the quality of the natural world around you. Now, mind you, I can hear a lot of traffic, and so this is also the microcosm of the larger world. There's no escape from the larger world here. I have loud noises all around me in this off-grid community, which is why I'm going to have to now start projecting backwards instead of just being annoyed by all this traffic and feeling sometimes I don't get enough rest because I am on a route that a lot of off-gridders take when they're going up and down the mountain. You know, I'm not too far from them, you know. So, the reality is, I have to maintain that sense of peace and acceptance, and then realize, okay, I'm feeling this noise pushing forward on my life. You know, I'm not going to, you know, keep being worried whether someone's going to hear me or not. This is the time for me to come alive. This is the time for me to activate. This is the time for me to stop living in fear. You know, there's plenty of times for me to already possibly be hurt by others where they knew where I was and what I was doing, and I was more vulnerable than ever, you could say, to being targeted. And I'll tell you what, having transcended that, and I'll tell you what, having transcended multiple other situations in which I could have faced sudden death. Why am I going to lose myself continuing to be in fear? No, I don't want to be murdered, but I'm going to spend my whole life like others, just being afraid of the unknown. I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to try to set a positive example. You know, I'm also going to leave you in conclusion with, if I can do it, some of you can do it either. I told you how little I had when I first went to Costilla County. I told you that it took me years and years to find the county that was right for me. And I told you I did it on my own without anyone telling me where to go, because I feel that the good deeds that I did prior to this moment helped build those bridges, helped create those serendipities, helped create those synchronicities. And so a whole new chapter, as I hear the birds chirping outside as the rain slows down, you know, a whole new chapter begins. And I don't have a whole lot of power, and I don't really have the financial means to move certain things forward. So there's a reason why you're hearing more podcasts than videos, and it's a power issue, it's a battery issue. But I tell you what, I'm so grateful that this alone is getting to you, and that is a magical thing. I'm Alex Yancey signing off for November 5th, 2016. If you want to start supporting these broadcasts, please visit alexyancey.tv.